Welcome. I'm Joe Kelly, and this is the Grindstone Circle. But I love the fact that we all, despite the circumstances today, right? We all went down the same path of what was important, right, to us in our relationships and our families, and I think that leads right into the next question, and I'm not going to go in order, so I'm gonna jump into the next question of, is marriage overrated? Right? Is marriage overrated? Now you have a panel here of four men who were married, who were married, right? Who seen that there was value in that. But I want to get your perspectives on, is marriage overrated in 2025?
I don't think so. And I mean, I'm speaking as a married man of over a decade, but I don't think it's overrated. I think love is like easy, right? Love is easy, but the consistency part of it is hard, right? And when you take a look at what everyone in social media says what marriage is, it's either going to be perfect or it's terrible, right? Don't marry this woman, don't marry this man. Or it's, we're traveling to Alaska every week. It's a highlight reel when you think about it. I don't think it's outdated or overrated. I think it's more so, it's that consistency key, and it's the portion of it's hard work. I mean, shoot, when you think about bills coming in, the kids acting up, and that's going to happen no matter what age it is, or someone's having stress at the job and they're bringing it home, not on vent a little bit, so you start to feel a certain way as well. That's the part where the consistency part of marriage, that's where it's tough. And I think a lot of times that question comes in because, I mean, do you really want to go to war with go to bat with your spouse, which you should? Do you really want to dig deep when it comes to, having those tough conversations on whatever's going on within you two, your lives, the stress levels, all those things? Do you really want to have a tough conversation? That's the consistency piece where I think a lot of people say, you know what, I don't want to get married. And I understand it. I understand it. I'm never going to be that person where it's like, bro, you're not married, something's wrong. No, protect whatever you think your peace is. That's the way I feel.
I think a lot of people feel that marriage today it's like not beneficial. And I'm saying that from both spectrums, right? Like from the spectrum of the man, right? Understanding how society is structured and, the horror stories you hear through social media from members that have the loudest microphone. And then you also hear it on the other side from the woman's perspective as well. So as married men, right, what message would you send to people that are either our age, younger, or even older? Is like, hey, marriage is overrated. Like, how would you convince them to stay on the path of reaching that goal of marriage and building a family and having a nuclear home and all those things?
I think that when you think about it too, and my bad if I jumped in, but I mean, you can't really change someone's mind, right? You can kind of enhance their perspective on what you think. So for me, it's more so, do you really love this person, for one? Because like I said, love is easy. That's so easy. I mean, you love your mom, you love everyone, you love your homeboys, right? Love is easy, but can you stick through it when the tough times come? Do you see the benefit of being with this person long term, right? Because honestly, when you think about marriage, it's a business, right? If you got two like-minded people working together towards something, it can become something much greater, man. Whether that's wealth-wise, whether that's a legacy that you guys are building, whatever it is. So I think for me, I would say, if you feel like you want to build a legacy or a family legacy with someone, try marriage. Try it out, but try to find a person that is really equally yoked to you. So that's how I feel.
G Scott, I want to get your thoughts on this as well. Let me get some input from you on that.
Is it outdated?
Yeah,
or overrated, outdated or
overrated.
Yeah,
I would say, I feel like that's a loaded question. So for the people will learn very, very quickly that I am the I'm the rebel. I'm Mr. Go against the grain. Mr. Oh, such and such is sick. We're not getting Robitussin. Go outside in the back and grab some Cerasine and some other bush medicine and boil it up. Let them drink and put some onions on their feet. They're going to feel good. So I like to just give that disclaimer, right? I want to preface my response with that before I give it to y'all, right? But I would say that marriage, for me, right? And I don't want anybody to take this in like the wrong way, right? Marriage is the found, like, so what makes the nation run, right? What makes a nation run, right? What makes a world run, right? Communities. And communities are built with families. And families are established through marriage. Same way that the children are created, right? So I think a lot of people want answers to symptoms but don't want to address the cause. If I were to answer if marriage were overrated, I would say that marriage is underrated. I would say it's underrated. I would say it's a crucial and fundamental piece to building community and building strong nations. And I would say that social media and these other constructs and external forces are keenly aware of that. And as a result, certain entertainment, movies and music and things that you read and things like that are in direct opposition to marriage. Even outside of that, like Charles said, that marriage is a business. And I think that it definitely has been turned into a business. You have to pay for marriage license. There's tax implications associated with it. But in the beginning, marriage was no different than the relationship that man was supposed to have with God, right? It was an intimacy, right? It was two people coming together and becoming one. And the Bible talked about how it was a great mystery. So I would say that marriage is extremely underrated. I wouldn't say it's outdated. I would say that marriage, the institution of marriage, the idea and concept of marriage is under attack, specifically in America. And we see that with a lot of agendas that are set in place. So I think it's crucial. I think it's vital. Raising my children, I make them aware that marriage is important. And it's my desire that they would get older, establish themselves, and then look to get married and establish and create families. That's the example that's been set for them, and that's what I would hope that they would follow and continue to do. But I believe that that's vital for strong nations, strong communities, strong world.
So tell me about, like, and again, I'm just being devil's advocate here, right? Like, from a perspective of a young gentleman is like, yo, like, I get it, I hear it, right? Nations are ran on family, the nuclear family, but I bust my behind, I become successful, I meet what I believe is the girl of my dreams, right? And everything that's needed for me. And then, right, 2 years later, I get divorced, alimony, child support, you know, the whole dog and pony show as it comes to that. Like, what would you tell a dude, a young man that's listening to this? Kind of, how would you address that? How would you combat that if it's underrated?
I wouldn't say that it's combating anything. The first thing that I would say is, and there are situations where that does happen, but a lot of the times what we're looking at, what individuals are looking at, what's drawing these men in, isn't necessarily what they should be looking for. The rubric and the criteria that they're looking for isn't necessarily what it should be. And in many instances, I'm not sure, but I would venture to guess that in many instances, a lot of people do not consult the plug. A lot of people aren't praying and asking God to give them the right guidance, give them direction, provide me with the woman that's meant for me, and the women that are not meant for me, turn them away from me. You know what I'm saying? Like, put certain stop losses within me that help me to mitigate that risk that exists from being a man. Like, help me to fight my carnal nature. A lot of times I don't think that the right questions are asked. And as a result, what you get, it isn't tailored to what you need because you didn't ask the right questions. Outside of that, in instances where maybe that does happen and something negative happens, right? Like the woman that they build with and all these other things dies or has cancer or anything bad may happen. There's an ancient Chinese proverb that says the purest gold fears no fire. I'm a firm believer that a certain amount of pressure and trauma have to be experienced by all individuals for their superpowers to be unlocked. There's some individuals that do not meet adversity until they become adults and end up in relationships. And the adversities and the obstacles that they have to learn to mitigate and overcome are within that relationship, but they're there in order to evoke and help them to evolve and become who they are meant to be. So I don't think that bad things happening as a result of you doing what you're supposed to do is an indication that what you did was incorrect. Sometimes you have to do those things for you to get what you need in order to be who you need to be. That testimony or that story or that experience that you went through that felt like hell, that you felt like you weren't gonna make it through, and you did, is the exact information and perspective that somebody down the line is going to need as well too. So in many instances, the gifts that you get, the treasures that you find, aren't necessarily meant for you. You want to take it back and give it to your people, and a lot of times those pearls are cast amongst swine. They don't see the value in what you brought back. They don't see the value in your experiences, but you will take those experiences and those stories and those wounds to other people that don't know you from Adam, and it will be monumental in their lives. You know what I mean? As far as helping them to overcome certain obstacles and things that they got going on. So that's what I would say for that, man. Like, life doesn't get easier. We got to get harder. And there is in my opinion, a false expectation of what folks think life is. So like Trell was saying earlier, like, social media, the relationships are either like a highlight reel or it's all bad. Like, life is a culmination of all those things. It's good things, it's bad things, it's things in between. And all of those things are mixed together for your benefit. So a lot of times I think people find themselves depressed and disillusioned and disenchanted with life because your expectation of what it was going to be when you were out here was a fallacy. It wasn't what it actually was. It's like when we used to watch Saved by the Bell or other TV shows with high school kids, and we was like, oh, bro, when I get to high school, it's going to be lit. When I get to college, it's going to be, and some of it is that, but a lot of it isn't. And then you get older and recognize that the people that were playing the children in these high school shows, in these college shows, was 34, 32, 29.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be playing somebody 16 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a big illusion. It's a big illusion. And I think people have to take the time to be intentional in what they're looking for, right? And take the veil off, right? Like, live in the real world. like be a part of what's actually going on out here, man. So I think that.
I think those are good points. Those are really good points. My take on it really quickly, I think you said a lot when it came to the foundation of it, right? And I think in 2025 and the younger generation, it's moved. The pendulum has shifted so far to the other side to where, people are looking at marriage as merely a transaction, right? Where it's kind of like, hey, this is what I get out of the ordeal, right? If I can come up, great. If I can't, right, there's always a safety net, right? But I believe marriage in itself is under attack. I think that the nuclear component of what marriage is not being taught, right? I hear notions all the time about, I don't want to build a man, right? I want a ready-made man. And I can tell you right now, as a married man of over a decade, right? If I would have met baby girl when I was a built man, I probably wouldn't have married her, right? Because I didn't have those experiences with her as I grew into the man I am today, right? And the only way I was going to get those experiences, because one, my grandmother wouldn't allow me to shack up with a woman. My grandfather wouldn't allow me to do that. So marriage was the only way that I was going to be able to, really embark upon that journey. But again, the love I have for baby girl is due to the fact that she was there, late night when I was struggling. She was there when I was up at 3:00 in the morning studying for my master's, trying to take, 3-4 classes before our first son was born, right? She was there when I got my first, executive level role. Like, she was there when I was, going through these ebbs and flows, and I was there for when she needed me, when we were going through our first pregnancy, when we were going through our second pregnancy, when, our son got really sick and I was her rock, and being able to support her through that process, right? So I think that is a key to marriage as a whole, and the younger generation don't see the benefits of that. and social media is not highlighting the benefits of, building together. It's not build a man or build a woman. It's building a lifestyle, right? It's building a legacy. And, my sons see me love on their mom every chance I get, right? They see me interact with my mother and interact with them in a very firm, but also a very loving manner, right? It's hard to get that when you're co-parenting. It's hard to do that when, your house is divided. It's hard to do that when you have toxicity that's been seeping into your relationship because you didn't draft up your initial contract, right? Like you didn't set up you didn't set up your parameters of, hey, you cross any of these freaking lines, buddy, I'm out of here, right? Like that was never discussed, right? And I think, that's where we got to get back. And I think this is a great way for us to bring it back, especially for young men. Like, hey, go through that vetting process, pick the woman that you need, not the woman that you want, right? Because if you go for what you want, you always fail, So that's my sense of marriage as it pertains today. It's under attack. And I think us as the leaders of today and the leaders of tomorrow and developing the leaders of tomorrow, like we got to be the ones to say, okay, enough is enough. Let's put out some great images, some great content, some great feedback to the younger generation to say, hey, marriage is the key. Marriage is the key to success. Marriage is the key to more wealth. Marriage is the key to better health for both male and female, right? If you do it the right way. So that's
I got a quick question, man. I got a quick question because we like to play devil's advocate here. And I recognize that this information is going to be ingested by our niche, right, is men, right? But there are going to be women that look at this as well, too. And with you drafting that contract, right, laying things out, how do you feel about women providing contracts with non-negotiables in them as well, too? Like, what's your take on that? And do you think that it is socially responsible for a woman to bring a contract as well too? Like you're laying out parameters and certain things that you think should be a certain type of way based on where you're at with it. How do you feel about a female or a young woman presenting the same thing to a young man, also with ultimatums that are non-negotiable?
No, I think that's a good point, and I welcome it 100%, right? Because here's the thing. My only caveat to that is I think every person should have standards. Every person should have things that they want, right? But I do think those standards and those non-negotiables of what they want have to be reasonable for the time in which you're in, right? So prime example, if baby girl came to me and was like, look, I need you to make X amount of dollars. I need you to have this. And I wasn't going to have that, right? Mm-hmm. That wasn't where I was when I met her at 22, 23 years of age, right? So I think they should definitely come to the table with the contract of, hey, here are the 5 non-negotiables, right? Like it can't be a laundry list of things because then you make it unobtainable, and now you're walking on pins and needles to court someone, right? But I think if you have a top 3 to 5, hey, these are my non-negotiables. This is what I'm expecting from a man that I want to marry, the man that's gonna be the father of my children, set our lives up for success. Here are the things that I need in order to move forward. I have no issue with that because I think more women should do that, right? Again, making it realistic, right? It can't be out of left field, but realistic standards and realistic non-negotiables for where you are at your age, where you are, your socioeconomic status, like all that stuff plays into it. But yeah, I definitely agree that they should 100%. What's that for, Earl?
Like all you guys made great points. For me, I think I honestly think that marriage is not it's not being we're doing it. We're part of what we're doing right now is the way to kind of bring marriage back to what it needs to be, right? I think what social media does, and I just life, media, whatever, what like the way life is looked at these days, we don't have enough of the older generation or the generation before that's about to be married and all that kind of stuff, really telling the true story, right? Like for me, I could be the bitter divorcee, right? And I could be like, no marriage, da 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 da. They're gonna do this, they're gonna do that, but that would be coming from a place of my trauma, my anger, my my self feeling of not so much of marriage, but of what happened in a relationship. But in all actuality, I think we need more guys that are divorced and keeping it real. Listen, this single life ain't for you, for everybody. Like, this is not it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's you know what I mean? Like, I think it's like, like more guys that are, are going through you know, the co-parenting situation and having to drive back and forth, or women, right, that are going through it. I think more people need to get away from uh telling the stories of how, for whatever, if there was a bad breakup or whatever, get away from telling the stories of the bad breakup. But let's really get down to the nitty gritty. You really want, yeah, I mean, if you could have worked it out, you probably could have. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you, it would be a lot easier if you had a partner in crime, every day, going through the tough times. There's a lot of lonely moments, right? In divorce, or even if it's not divorce, it's, where it's the co-parenting thing, where, we got together, had a baby, and now, but we realized we wasn't gonna fit, so then we break up, and now we're trying to figure out when is little Junior or a little, a little Susie gonna be over here or over there, right? Or, when you're missing moments, right? And you missing moments in your kids' lives, right? And you just wish that you could be there or have that kind of communication with the mother of your child, and with, or who you would think, you in your mind, you would rather it be like, my wife, because, you know what I'm saying, like, you would rather it be like where you could just call, she calls you up, oh my gosh. But now we got to work through how to be great co-parents and be friends in the co-parent situation, and how to be, now we got to go through that whole thing, and that's tough. So even with uh the look of marriage not being what it used to be, right? There's still, let's really talk about what it is to have to go through. Let me put my feelings aside for the betterment of the children,
Yep.
right? Let me make sure that I send this picture to my kid's father, or let me make sure I send this picture or this video to my kid's mother, right? But that in itself, and having to get to that point of like acceptance, there's grief in that, right? So there's a trauma in that, right? Like Trail talked about earlier, like, love is easy. Falling in love is easy. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's falling in love, falling in lust, or whatever it is, all that is easy. But can we go to the trials and tribulations? And I think that we need to start taking more of a deep dive in signing the I mean, at first the contract really sounded crazy, but really and truly, y'all signed a contract for where y'all was at the time of your life. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
like, so even if it's not an actual contract, but even if it's a like the conversation, the communication, that's all y'all did. Y'all just had communication in that moment. You just put it on paper. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? And it made it your word is bond, really and truly. But it's just the communication of, where are we right now? Where do we want to be? Can we get through the things of life that's going to that life is going to hand us, so that we can get here or get there, and keep pushing on, so that we could be a unit and doing what we got to do. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because it is, and I mean, to say it's a business, maybe not a. I mean, you can say it's a business, but a business is work. Work. It's work. It
Work.
takes work to keep a marriage going. You know what I mean? So
That's 1000%. It's funny.
so
It's funny. I want to, again, this is ad hoc, and I'm throwing it at you because I'm going somewhere right here. Right. Let me ask you, gentlemen, when you married your significant others, were you in love with them?
What
Say
kind
it
of
again.
question is that, bro?
What's the question?
Meaning,
Right,
when you married your significant other, were you in love with them?
1,000%.
Okay.
1,000%. Because I'll take it all the way back to where, I mean, when you think about it, it took me a little bit. It took us a little bit to actually even get married, right? So we went through the whole process. It's almost like back in the 60s, right? So we went from dating, and then after dating, I was able to take her to Applebee's, do a little thing like that, and I realized, okay, she might be something, So now I got to go to Longhorn, right? True story, bro. I still
listen. He said,
hey,
I got
on Monroe Street. Hey, no, but seriously, man, it's like it was a whole process and building up to it, because you mentioned something where you talked about shacking up. Well, we weren't raised that way, but I'm gonna tell you, that's what we did. We were like, okay, this right here about to get real, but we were still dating. You see what I'm saying? And we were like, okay, if we're gonna shack up together, and I'll tell you another thing, and I know I'm going a little bit off topic, but we started combining finances early before we even got married. I mean, I know that's extremely controversial, but in my brain, in my mind, I was like, next. These bills got to get paid. I'm gonna take care of her. She say she's gonna take care of me.
Yes,
and at the end of the day, we're gonna make sure it works. So when the time before we cross that stage in March at the church, I was already in love. Like, shoot, she got my money, she got my bank account.
Hey man,
it wasn't much.
Hey Trell, you can't talk about your wedding, man, because I wasn't there, and I that's a trauma for me in my life. Okay, you know what I'm saying. You can't talk about it. And just let's keep it real. I probably would have been the best man in his wedding.
Oh, this guy.
Trell, you bring up a really good point though, because that takes a lot of marriages out, like the finances. And I was in a similar situation, right? So same thing. My parents and family, I covered the same thing. They didn't agree with that, but I was also testing the waters. Rock and I lived together before we got married, and that's a big thing too, right? Like, we were together when I had nothing. I had nothing, bruh. You know what I'm saying? So like we built what we have, we built together. And a very, very important point for the young men that may be listening to this podcast: anytime that you are getting ready to engage in anything, I tell my children, right? Anytime you're getting ready to engage in war, anytime you're going to wage war, you need to count the cost. And what I mean by that is, what are you willing to lose? What are you willing to sacrifice in order to achieve your goal? So when you're looking at these females, right, you out in the club and you drinking and whatever, and it's looking right because you about 3-4 whiskeys and 4-5 Modelo's in, and it's looking right. In the back of your mind, man, like, you young men should embed something back there. What am I willing to lose in order to lay in between this woman's legs? What am I willing to sacrifice? And in some instances, that moment of pleasure, you pay for the next 20 years. And it's not even the next 20 years, because you and that woman have a bond, right? And creating that child that will surpass time, right? Y'all done put DNA together. So for the young men that are listening to this, right, before you begin to get into anything, this on my shoes, I'm gonna slap this. Anytime you get ready to do anything, in the back of your mind, think about what you are willing to lose and sacrifice in order to achieve whatever it is you're trying to do. So,
hey, it's funny you said that, because I want to touch on two things with that, because I think it's really important, right? You got to have that in the back of your mind. And when it goes down to like the finances, I agree with Trell on, we need to make sure you had that conversation up front, right? There's no secret. When I met baby girl, she had more money than me. Okay. I had a couple of racks in the bank account. I was driving my little hoopty at the time. Right?
Literally a couple, probably. It was
I'm talking like 4-5. I'm talking 4-5, and my insurance is suspended because I ain't paid it. Right?
Oh, shoot.
we hurting right now. It was one of those things where we had a conversation, was like, hey, what you got? What you working with, right? And how good are you with money? And at that point in time, I was super, I was stingy with the money, but when it came to my family, my sisters, I was, hey, whatever you need, I got you, right? Because if I got it, you got it type scenario. And we bridged our finances together as well to see how well we would mesh with that before we kind of went down the whole path of marriage and all that. So we had that conversation very early on. And as I was going through that path and kind of leading to JoJo's point of, I met this gentleman. I'm not going to say his name because I don't know if he wants me to, put him out there like that. But when me and baby girl first started dating, this gentleman said something that will resonate with me until I'm gone. He said, you never hang around people that has something to lose. You always want to be around people that got something to lose, right? And what that meant was when you get into these committed relationships and you get into a marriage, what I'm not going to do is go to the club, right? With some guys that either I don't really rock with like that, or, that don't have my best interests at heart. And then I jeopardize my future, right? Or I put myself in a situation where I could be compromised and jeopardize my marriage and the time with my sons and all of that stuff. So I think men need to think through that, right? Like I'm not going to say his name, but I love this dude to death, but I don't hang out with single guys. I just don't, right? Because that's no longer one in my structure, right? And number two, I don't have anything to offer you outside of marriage tips, right? Relationship tips.
Bro, you used to come and visit me all the time when I was divorced. Like I don't understand. You talking
Well,
about you ain't hanging out.
You a different story. Like did we go to the club? Did we go out?
No. I mean, we was at the house. I just wanted to make sure you wasn't throwing a shot at me.
I came to check on you, make sure make sure your mentals was good, right? Make sure you're all right. But we weren't hanging out like that. We weren't going out and shooting the crap. No, I was going to JoJo house. I was going to JoJo house. That's where I was. I was hanging out with Trail and D. Like, hey, listen, bro. Hey, I catch you at the next boys retreat. That's facts, right? But no, you surround yourself with that because I think that's really important. And I think if you look at what's happening with young dudes today, like you look at the guy from the Cleveland Browns was Junkins, Judy, the running back.
Oh yeah, running back.
Who just got drafted, right? He came down to Fort Lauderdale, and all of a sudden now he's in jail, right? Domestic abuse, domestic assault, whatever it is. Like you're not surrounding yourself with people that's gonna pull you to the side, say, "Hey, man, don't do that," or "Hey, we shouldn't be out this late," or "Hey, let's not go to this bar."
Let me ask you this question, though, bro. Yeah. Let me ask you this question. I mean, part of what we're doing here is going to answer it. But I mean, how many times have you paid that advice forward? Do you currently pay that advice forward a lot? Like, I think that's an issue. Like really and truly, it's like, we're gatekeeping, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like all of y'all have, like, before y'all got married, y'all shacked up, if you will, or you combined finances and things of that nature. But the generations before us didn't, quote unquote, do that, right? But I think that if the generations before us would say, maybe we should have before we got all the way involved, maybe that'll give us some advice for. So how much, like with what y'all have been through, how much of y'all, obviously you don't give unsolicited advice, right? Like that's crazy. But like how when the time is presented, how much of y'all making sure to give out that advice, like that we talking about, right? How much are we talking about? Hey young blood, like let's keep it real, man. It's probably not a good idea that you rocking with them. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? They got a little bit too much to. They got a little too much to got going on. You on another path, right? Like, how much are you doing?
As I get older, Earl, what I would say is this, bro. Like, and I was like this when I was younger too, man. But like the new generation, bro, like these young cats, in many instances, what individuals like me would say, Unc would say, is like they ain't trying to hear that. They ain't got no mind. They ain't trying to listen to none of that. But when we were younger too, we had a space too where it's like we weren't trying to do anything either. What I would say is this: when the student is ready, the master will appear. So we do have this information, we do have these experiences, but it's not lost on me anyway. Because like I was the person that was doing that all the time, and I can't tell you how many like unfortunate situations I've had to deal with in that space where it's like I feel like I'm trying to help this person. I'm trying to assist them with not having to deal with hardships and bad experiences that I've had, right? So it's like I want to help you. I want to give this to you. And in certain spaces, at least for me, right, and then maybe it's different for other people, but I was informed, right? Sometimes I come on a little too strong. Sometimes I come across as self-righteous, oh, this think he know everything, or oh, you got this going on, so you think you, and it's like that is the furthest thing from what my intent is, but sometimes that's how that information is received. So I think things like this help that information to be distributed to the masses.
Right.
But what I do is I wait for individuals to ask certain poignant, directed questions. And when they ask poignant, directed questions, I give them directed answers. And that's the extent of that. You know what I mean? But it's not something that you can just, because people don't want that, right? Like we're in upside down world where things that are good are bad and things that are bad are good. And we see that every day. So you out here trying to be a truth teller and waving your flag or whatever, and people like, put that down, shut up. You know what I mean? So you got to know how to position yourself, right? Because having the information isn't enough. Having the experience isn't enough. It's knowing how to apply it and in what situation. And as time progresses, especially in the climate that we're in right now, those opportunities I feel like are few and far between, and you have to do a really good job of identifying that and then capitalizing on it and optimizing it as much as you can without being overbearing or dogmatic or misunderstood as being arrogant.
Yeah,
I want to. Ain't nobody want to hear your advice using all them big words.
No, and rising tides lift all boats, man. Rising tides lift all boats.
Exactly. Listen, EJ, I want to add to that too, because I think
what's up
to your point, like I wouldn't say it's necessarily gatekeeping into JoJo's point, right? Like younger generation may say, man, I'm not trying to hear that, right? You don't know what it's like in these trenches. Like I kind of do. Right? Been there, done that, right? Watch the movie, bought the t-shirt. But I think for me, like, I think this is how we do that, right? This is how we kind of share that information. Like, my two oldest sons, we have a lot of rules and we have a lot of structure on dating, on working, on, careers and finances and all that stuff, right? And I kind of keep that internal to make sure that they are well positioned to be successful, right? And then as I feel like they are kind of getting in their own groove, I want to share that with other men in the space when they're ready to hear it. Like you can scream to the mountaintops all day, but no one's going to listen to you until they're ready to listen, right? And by us having this space, having this platform, doing these podcasts, we can now have this information ready and available whenever these young cats want to get it, right? When they finally hit that aha moment, it's like, okay, let me go listen to the OGs, because by the time they get it, it's like now we OJ consider us OGs now, right? Oh, big unks. They'll be able to say, okay, this is how I want to move forward. So I think is the work we're doing right now is the start of no longer gatekeeping this great information that we have.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I said that on here, because I just kind of feel like generation before us, I think, and maybe I'm just now realizing that I was one of the young dudes that, I'm not trying to hear what you're trying to talk about. Like, maybe I'm just realizing I'm that dude. But sometimes I feel like, dang, like I feel like I didn't get all the real information. You know what I mean? I feel like I didn't, I think I could have avoided a couple of things, did things a little better if I would have, if such and such would have told me, or somebody like that. But, and I'm just making sure.
No, you bring up a good point. I won't go too deep into it, but I'll tell you one thing: this is just my opinion. The generations before us, they lied and they did not tell the truth about a lot of things. I mean, you think about it, man. The older you get, usually what your mama say, stay out of grown folks' business. But the older you get, you start to realize you're like, oh, that's why you didn't want me to know this. I'm telling you. Man, so don't get too deep into that, man. It was a lot of things that they did not want us to know, and it was peaches and cream. But granddaddy was sleep, had 2-3 families down the road, on Pine Street, type of deal. So, but yeah, no, I just want to throw that.
No, you're right. Like that's real talk. That's real.
And I think the difference too, like we are being a lot more forthcoming. Like the millennial generation is a lot more forthcoming. Like we parent differently. We talk about finances with our kids. Like we try and set them up for ultimate success. Like we are the ones that are like, hey, you know, do you know where babies come from at the age of 5? Right? Like we not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just. I don't think it's just like finances and all that too. I think a lot of it too. We're more. I think this generation. I hope I'm still in y'all generation. I know I'm older than y'all, but
you're 6 years older than us. So
okay. First of all, stop. I'm not 6 years older than y'all. I'm only like 2 or 3. You know, depending on what. But you always try to do that. But nah. I think this generation is like when we talk about mental health. I think we're more people sometimes say like, oh, we're too emotional. No, I think we're more empathetic. I think we're just paying attention more to where our headspace is at and where each other's headspace is at. I don't when I sat back and secretly listened to the conversations that I would hear my uncles and my dad and his friends were having, I don't remember having conversations like we did. You know what I'm saying? Like we do. You know what I'm saying? And then also with us, I think we lost Jojo, but I think also with us too, we allow our sons and our kids in some of these conversations for real. I think it's important when they see, Uncle Dontrell having a tough time with something. Dad picked up the phone, you know what I mean, and they talked and they made sure to let him know, hey man, hey bro, I love you. You know what I'm saying? Uncle Joe hit him up. Uncle Joe said, hey man, I'm just calling to check on you. And I appreciate y'all for that because my sons hit me up and they'll be like, yo, Dad, how you doing? You okay? I love you, man. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's another thing that why I think we are more apt to give more advice and more and more of our give them more of our circumstances and things of that nature. It's just different. We different. We are different. And I agree with that. We are different.